Hi guys, how's it going? I hope you're enjoying your holiday season and I hope you keep up with everything you put your mind to during this period. Because guess what? I didn't. Hence this video right now. In case you didn't see the title, what we're talking about right now, or the thumbnail, we're talking about today about The Deep by Nickcutter. Now, if you saw my winter book haul video, you'll remember that I did plan on reading about 3 books during this month. Well, that's what I wanted, but I also have other hobbies as well, like drawing, and I haven't drawn in a while for many reasons, and I decided to draw a mandala again from scratch. And when I started doing this, I was like, I need to listen to something, so I went on and searched for audiobooks and I found The Deep by Nickcutter. And I saw how long it was, roughly around 12 hours. I was like, I can do this. I have other stuff to do around the house. I had to go places. It's the perfect thing. I barely knew about the book. I heard about Nickcutter through the great booktube vine, so to say, and on Book Talk. So I knew about the troupe. I heard a lot. About this book, The Deep, I didn't hear that much, but I was like, well, maybe read the one that's not the most popular. And I started to listen to it, and I finished it in 3 days listening to it, and now I cannot stop thinking about it, so here we are. I need to talk about it a bit, to just get it out of my system so that I can read Long Live the Pumpkin Queen and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Those two, especially. Yeah, so, what the hell is The Deep? The Deep is a 2015 book by Nickcutter. It's a horror book, mostly. If you want to be specifically niche, it's a bleak horror book with a lot of Lovecraft references and anything related to that. I'll start first with like a non-spoilery summary and a bit of my opinions about it, and after that we'll get to the good stuff, okay? So, what's the book about? The book is about a veterinarian called Luke Nelson who is called to go in the freaking Mariana Trench, or even deeper than that, I don't remember necessarily the specifics, to go and see what the hell his genius brother and his team of scientists are doing there, because they were sent there, his brother and the scientists, to find a cure for a freaking global apocalyptic pandemic that's going on in the world. But they haven't heard from that team for a while. And the last transmission that comes is Luke's brothers, called Clayton, I'm looking at my notes here, called Clayton, who's like, brother, come here. That's pretty much it. And Luke being like, you know what, it's the end of the world, I haven't heard from him in 10 years, why not? Let's go into the Mariana Trench. Just a side note, after I finished listening to this, each friend I spoke with, I asked them, like, where would you go if you would had the choice? In the ocean? Like in a submarine or something like that? Or in space? And the majority of the people were like, in space. Nobody really wants to go in the freaking Mariana Trench. Me, I for one, neither. I want to go to the mountains and have a castle. That's it. No space, no ocean for me. No thank you. Anyhow, so Luke goes there in it's like a space station, not space. Jesus Christ, I'm thinking about space now. It's an ocean station. It's described looking like a spider, like a main body, and then parts of it that extend because you have places to go. And he is taken there by a lieutenant called Abby, and there Luke meets some of the scientists there, and through different means, and finds his brother, but he also finds that something is very, 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 very wrong down there. Now, if you're familiar with weird books or Lovecraftian books or eldrich stuff or cosmic stuff, cosmic horror, you kind of see where things will go. Like, if you're used to reading that kind of stuff, you kind of expect certain things to happen. So it might not surprise you necessarily with the monster part or supernatural part necessarily, but what happens is, as Luke explores that, I'll call it submarine, I don't know the right term, but as Luke explores that submarine, basically he goes through his memories from childhood, from his whole life, and you go through it with him, and you start to notice that this man had a very, very disturbing and weird childhood, him and his brother. And as I was listening to it, I was very confused, like how the hell all this stuff was happening to them. I was like, maybe it's not really true, maybe it's an illusion made by whatever it's under in the sea. But no, it's at the end it does explain like what the hell happened and why those things happened to Luke and Clayton. And good God, I really don't want to spoil it, but it's so bleak, the ending. Jesus. I'm still thinking about it, as you can see, yeah. So, yeah, safe to say, I liked the book. I really did. It surprised me. I did not expect that. You can compare it to, let's say, Event Horizon meets The Thing meets The Call of Cthulhu, honestly, in a lot of aspects. Like, people go insane, people kill themselves when they learn some information and such that. And there's also, you know, the unknown part in the story, and also the fact that whatever humans do in confrontation with a cosmic horror, well, you kind of lose. So I'm not sure if that's a spoiler necessarily to the end of the book, because I didn't say necessarily anything specific, but yeah. Anyhow, so I recommend this book, especially if you need like something, I mean, not necessarily fresh in terms of this genre, but it is a gut punch. It is quite a gut punch. So if you like to suffer and you like to, I don't know, think about very, very horrible things for a while, read The Deep by Nickcutter. And that would be the non-spoilery section of this video. Now, let's talk spoilers, because I'm rolling my sleeves, because goddamn, Mr. Cutter. Why? Also, that's not his real name. Apparently Nick Cutter, that's his pen name? Is that the right term? His pseudonym for writing horror books. Again, one of his most popular ones that I saw is The Troop. I do want to read it now. And The Acolyte, because I heard that's more of religion horror, which I'm like, yes, please. So, let's go into spoilers. So, what the hell is going on? Regarding the global disease that's taking over the world, that's so important that you have to go into the Mariana Trench to find a freaking cure. It's apparently similar to, I would say, similar to Alzheimer and dementia. It's called the Getz. Stupid name. I think Clayton even says it's a freaking stupid name. So it's a disease that affects the human mind and the body at the same time, because besides you forgetting first little things like where you put the sugar or stuff like that, or names of people, your body also as well starts forgetting how to function, like to be hungry, to, you know, do the bodily functions, peeing and such. Like, the book opens with Luke seeing a victim of this disease, an old man walking, and he doesn't realize that his face is basically being eaten by insects. And the most of the detail we get about it, it's not even from Luke, it's from one of the characters we meet that takes him to where he has to go to enter the sea. And the guy basically explains what happens to his wife, which, funny enough, his wife is called Mona, so I found that very funny of a coincidence. And basically it's a very terrifying disease. You basically forget to function, forget to be alive. And one thing I found very, very interesting is that animals are not affected by this disease, but bees are, which I was like, that's an interesting take. So bees are affected, and even in this underwater station, they take bees there to try to find a cure, because in their mind it's like, if it works for the bees who were first affected and also need help because we need bees, people, then we can fix everyone else. And they do find a cure in a way. So what they find down there, we learn with Luke, is a substance called ambrosia, which is the name of the nectar of the Greek gods that usually gives immortality. Keep that in mind. And Luke goes there, again, as I said in the non-spoilery section, because his brother called out for him from the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. Who's his brother? Clayton Nelson. So he's a genius. In the books world, he's one of the people who cured cancer. So he's quite the prodigy when it comes to biology and stuff like that, sciencey stuff that I have no clue about. But the problem is, he's a bit of a, I wouldn't say necessarily psychopath, maybe antisocial guarantee, like antisocial personality all over. Like, he doesn't like human beings, he doesn't care, and he hasn't spoken to his brother in 10 years. With Luke, the main protagonist, he hasn't spoken to his brother, not even when he got married, and not even when his freaking son disappears. Yeah, you learn with Luke that his son, his little boy, went missing when they were playing hide and seek in the park, and he just didn't, he closed his eyes for like 3 seconds because, you know, they were playing hide and seek, and then his kid disappears and his life goes to shit, of course. His wife divorced him and he's a wreck, and his brother's like, MIA, I'm doing sciencey stuff. I'm surprised Luke went there. Like, the author really does his best job to really emphasize that Luke is the empath and Clayton is the non-human path. I really don't know what term would be best for him. Narcissistic and antisocial for sure. Yeah. But I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, so I don't know. I don't want to be a couch therapist. Now, he goes there, and the fun thing is that when he arrives there, his brother is like, I didn't ask for you. And the problem is that even though they learn that, and they learn a lot of disturbing things that happen there, like the ambrosia literally is like a little spy and just appears in each scientist's room, and each scientist thinks like, oh, I've been chosen by the thing because it's fucking sentient, and they don't talk to each other. Yeah, so keep in mind, it has some tropes in horror, like people not talking to each other to make the plot go along. So yeah, anyhow, so they don't talk to each other, and the ambrosia slowly makes 2 of the scientists a bit go insane. So how's it, what's the order? So it's the scientist that first discovers the ambrosia, a woman, she kills herself. It's another scientist, I'm not sure exactly what he was doing, but he ends up surfacing with one of the subs, and he's all cut up, but at the same time healing, because the ambrosia does heal the flesh, but not really. We'll get there even more. And another one basically isolated himself in his room, and we learn about him being alive way later in the story, because Luke just stumbles there in his lab, and that guy dies as well because the ambrosia spread through all of the freaking underwater station and is basically controlling it and freaking kills him. Like, my god. So basically at the end of the book you have only Luke, Clayton, and Abby, the lieutenant, and LB, the most cutest thing in this whole freaking book, a chocolate Labrador that was brought there along with other animals. Yeah, FYI, I should have said this in the non-spoilery section. I'll leave notes there somewhere. It has a lot of animal killing and abuse and all of that. Like, ooh, like, I'm used to hearing or seeing stuff like that, consuming the genre that I'm consuming the most, but Jesus Christ, Mr. Cutter, when you killed LB, oh, I teared up. I freaking teared up. Fucking Christ. Horrible, horrible what they did to the dog. And also the bees and the guinea pigs. And oh my god, Clayton. Like, that man doesn't care about any living creature. I swear to god. Maybe his brother. I mean, at the end, you can say that maybe he cares a bit about his brother. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, at the end, you're left with 3 people and a dog. But the dog also dies. Abby also dies. Oh, and Abby as well, there's a great scene. That's why it reminded me a lot of Event Horizon with the memories that come to haunt you there. Because what happens basically is that ambrosia thingy taps into your deepest memories and makes you relive them. So you have like visual and auditory hallucinations, and it's really, really creepy because you don't know sometimes when you're having them. And you can have them even when you're asleep. So Abby keeps going back. It's like the captain from Event Horizon. She keeps going back to a mission she had in the past where she failed one of her crew members in her eyes because that person died because of an accident or something happening there. And she blames herself. So she keeps seeing that. So it reminded me a lot of the captain from Event Horizon, who mentions a crew member that dies during one of his missions, and the ship Event Horizon remembers that. So very similar to Event Horizon. I love that because it's one of my favorite movies. So yeah, and after Abby dies, Luke finds Clayton, and after that finds LB, and after LB dies, goes to get his freaking brother so they can get the hell out of there. And because of that ambrosia thingy going to each room and tempting basically the scientist to be like, I can be your biggest discovery, Clayton of course tries experiments with animals and whatever he can, and at some point with himself. And the ambrosia effect infects him, so he doesn't really want to go. At some point he even says he doesn't even care about finding a cure. It's just this discovery for himself that he likes. So the guy really doesn't care about humans. And at some point Luke touches his brother while that stupid ambrosia's on him, and their minds kind of mush together and he can see his brother's memories. And a thing I didn't mention is that they had awful childhoods, and a part of the awfulness that was their life at the beginning was their mother, who, I'm thinking of the best term to call that see you next Tuesday woman. She's a pedophile and a sadist, and I can say many things about that woman. Goddamn. So yeah, keep in mind about that. So basically she abuses the kids a lot because she's an awful, horrible person. And at some point Clayton just decides no, not anymore, and he poisons her and kills his mom. But can you blame him? No. And it's very interesting because Luke is like, when he sees that memory, he is like, you know what, I know my brother always was like non-human or didn't care about us that much, but he says that he thinks that when Clayton kills their mom, that's when he just let go of any part of humanity from him, which I thought that was interesting. But anyhow, let's get back to the story. So after he tries to rescue Clayton and that shit happens, he again goes back as well, look through memories and memories of his mind. It's a lot of pages of that, of going through. And the most memory he goes through, of course, is the memory of his son. And also the nightmares that are there with his son and wife, and what he sees. Jesus Christ, even that, my goodness. They're very explicit, the imagery, and they're very good. The imagery, very, very, very good. Goddamn. He tries to rescue his brother. He does try to take us up and go up, but at some point I think the poor guy just gives up because he keeps hearing his son's voice. And what happens next is that he finds a freaking door, like a basement fucking door in that underwater station, and he's like, well, what the fuck? And he opens the door and he goes down like a freaking big earthy place, like a cave, but it looks like ancient and monolithic and, you know, Call of Cthulhu stuff like that. And when he reaches like what looks like a place where you can sit, he finds two creatures who come to him in the form of his parents, his pedo mom and spineless dad, but not really. I like that. They looked like them, but not really, like towards the uncanny valley. And yeah, those two creatures, which are called the Figmen. It's an entire story with that. It doesn't matter right now, but those two basically are the culprits of the ambrosia existing and for also Luke's whole life, because what we learn is that these two beings have been not necessarily in the ocean, but have existed even before our planet existed. They mentioned they were present when our sun was created, so they're very, 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 very old. And they basically explain to Luke that they have been imprisoned at the bottom of the Mariana Trench by someone or something. They don't specify if they were imprisoned by creatures same as them or stronger or different. Not many details there, but I did find it interesting that when they say that they were imprisoned here, they look towards the sky, and at some point Luke's called them tricksters, which I found was a bit on the nose with all of that. Anyhow, you can speculate what they are: gods, fallen angels, whatever. Doesn't really matter. They're bad. So they basically explained that in order for them to get out, they needed somebody, a key in the form of a person, to come set them free. The only problem is it had to be someone with a strong mind, but someone who also is more an empath, who loves, to have something to tempt that person with. Very biblical, the whole shebang, very metaphorical. What can I say? Now, they wanted Clayton because of his mind, of his genius, but Clayton is, without love, doesn't really love anyone. So they thought, well, Clayton can be the key and Luke can be the doorway, which I don't think they necessarily say that, but that's my interpretation, and it's very, very Lovecraftian, and I loved it. And they basically get them both, and Luke does ask about his brother. Well, where is he? Because he doesn't know where his brother is. He left him in the sub somewhere, and they're like, you know what, your brother's with us. He likes it here. He doesn't really like people. And the way the narrator says that line, that your brother really doesn't really like you guys. He likes it more here with us. Like, even those creatures were like surprised at the level of hate Clayton has for human beings. But anyhow, so Luke basically is face to face with these monstrous, unnatural creatures that are far older than humanity itself, who want out of their prison, who admits that they made the ambrosia. Funny enough, it's not their fault that disease, the Gens, the forgetting thing, exists. They basically say it's just a happy coincidence. So what do they tempt Luke with? Well, if you paid attention about the many times Luke goes back into the memory of losing his son, well, guess what? The day his son disappeared is the day the Figmen took him. Yeah, fucking cosmic horror creatures took his son. And they're like, we can give him back. You can take him back along with a gift. The gift being the ambrosia that basically turns you into the thing. And Luke is like, no, at the beginning, but then they do show him his son, or what's left of his son, because his son has been with those creatures for years, but who knows how long it is for him in that state. So his son doesn't look the best. He looks a bit Cronenbergery, so to say. But Luke is overwhelmed with emotions. He's overwhelmed with love, because sometimes love can kill you, literally. And basically the Cronenbergian version of his son and Luke kind of melt together, even with their memories and stuff and in their mind. And the book ends with that thing that's called specifically not human coming at some point under the full moon with a sub, coming out from the ocean and on shore and on Earth. And that's how the book ends. Now, the funny thing is that those fig men tell Luke that every horrible thing that happened to him and his brother were their fault. There are like scenes that seem very supernatural in their childhood. There's one with a box, like a clown box that he gets, that he has in his room, that's like he sees like something moving in it, or the clown's moving and stuff like that. Very horror. And there's also a scene with him and his brother when Luke goes with his brother to go find specimens for Clay's experiments, and they're going near a sewer drainage or sewer pipe, and it's very, the scene that happens there, it's very Stephen King it. Like, I was shocked. And when we learned that from these fig men, like, they're like, oh yeah, we have some kids roaming around, or creatures that come from us roaming around. And I'm like, what the hell are those things? And when you read it at the beginning, before you get at the end and meet these cosmic horror beings, all the way through I was like, how the hell did all this stuff happen to you? How are you so normal? Especially Luke, how are you so normal and empathetic? Ugh, I don't know how to talk anymore. I've been talking for too much. But yeah, I cannot stop thinking about this book. I can't say it blew my mind. Like, nothing there necessarily felt new. Maybe the story itself is new, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, the salad of ideas that were mixed here is the perfect gut punch, because especially when you learn that these two things, these fig men, were at the bottom of every horrible thing that happened to Luke and Clayton, you're like, oh, so there was no choice, there was no hope. And I like this idea of the illusion of choice that you thought was there the whole time. And Jesus. Oh, another thing, I wrote down a quote. I really like that one. Luke says it when he's talking about his child, that he thinks hopefully that he's dead. No, it was worse. Guilt carves you up. That thing I really liked. And I also like how Luke describes, or the author through Luke, how he describes like the sensation there at the bottom of the ocean. And one thing he says is, God's finger does not reach down so far, which I was like, well, no shit. Especially at the end. Or that this is a place of darkness, light has no place here. So yeah, I liked it. I really liked it. And I did manage to draw my bloody mandala. It's not done. I need to finish it and color it. And yeah, that's why I have also audiobooks, because I like to do these things. But goddamn, I was so happy to read this. I want to read The Troop now. Nickcutter, you've become so far an anticipated author for me. Very nice surprise. Did not expect it. Tell me, please, have you read The Deep? What do you think about it? What do you think about The Troop and the Acolyte? Let me know. Are they worth it? Such a great book. I was so surprised. God damn it. Thank you very much for listening to my rant. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas.